This is Mainstream Metaphysics with your host, Nick Newmont.
Well, welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics. I'm Nick Newmont. Yes, it is Mercury retrograde, so I guess better late than never. I guess that's how we have to do it during Mercury retrograde. Having some trouble with Facebook cooperating. I understand it was on YouTube, but this is where most of the people watch the show. Well, hi. How are you? It's been a while. I feel like I know this very well because I've said this same speech 4 times trying to get on the air tonight. And you notice I'm laughing. You have to laugh about this stuff because we talk about Mercury retrograde, we joke about it, and a lot of people are telling me that, you know, this Mercury retrograde has been kind of brutal so far, and we're only a short period into it. And that's not even the main topic of tonight. It's the other planets that we're going to talk about and what they are doing. So I don't think I've done a show since last year. And of course, you know, I do get busy with coaching softball and things like that. And actually, within the realm of Newmont Center, I have been extremely busy working with people. You know what's really fascinating is one of the things that we are busier than ever with, and Audrey does this with me, is the house blessings, house cleansings. We are getting calls to bless homes like you've never seen before. This year we will have done more homes than in my entire career, and this is only July. It's interesting that I have realtor clients selling homes where the homes are stuck, not selling, and they are asking, for to bless the house while it's empty, and try to move the sale of the house. So it's amazing in what people are reporting in terms of what's going on in the house, the energy in the house, having things being moved around. I mean, it's kind of fascinating as to how that's going. I swear with all the spiritual activity that it's like the original Ghostbusters movie going back to 1984, when all hell broke loose, literally and figuratively, and ghosts everywhere. So it's not that bad. We're not mimicking Hollywood, and that's science fiction. But what's going on is very, very real. People coming in for energy work, hypnotherapy, readings. People want to know. And I intend in stringing a bunch of shows together as long as I have time to do it and bring to you the information that you're looking for that can help you. A couple weeks ago at the center, I did a Q&A on a Monday night, a 2-hour Q&A that was loaded with information, people asking questions, wanting the questions answered on more of a psychic basis, not so much as a therapeutic basis, although sometimes questions can be answered therapeutically and not psychically, depending on what that question is. And if you're looking for answers, well, then you want to come to the Newmont Center this coming Sunday, July the 12th, from 11 to 4. We are having one of our Merlin Golden Arrow events. Yes, I will be channeling Merlin, and our good friend Alexandra will be channeling Golden Arrow. She'll do that singularly. Then I will channel Merlin, and we come back together. And for those of you who have been to one of those events know how cool it is to have spirits interact with the audience and with each other. So if you got nothing going on this coming Sunday from 11 to 4, we still have a few chairs available. And also, if you're not in the area, it is being Zoomed. And so there's always plenty of room, for Zoom, as many can fit on the computer. So again, if you have any questions about this coming Sunday, call the center. That's the best thing to do, is 818-865-8770. I answer that line, and I can get you information about cost and all that kind of stuff if you're curious. And if you haven't done that before, treat yourself, because it is really cool, and it's amazing what those spirits get into and what they know about you, which can be very enlightening, or for some people, depending on their lives, it could be a little scary. Right, Ed?
Yes, sir.
How did they know that?
Exactly.
Oh, man. So we are in a time right now of course, with Mercury retrograde. The first thing is getting clarity on communication. I mean, the little technical snafu that we had tonight, we don't know what that is. We'll have it figured out going forward. But that's just an example. I want to mention something that's very funny, okay? Because people do this, and this is a form of communication. And if somebody says that they're going to do something, and then they don't do it, these are the words that are used. I was going to do that. Now, that really puts a person in the middle, and they're frozen. Because when a person says, I was, that's referring to the past. And then when they say going to do that, that's in the present. In the future. So we have a statement of past and future, and whatever that item is, it's not done. So when you say, I was going to do that, or any kind of statement where the past and the future are blended together, then what's going to happen is nothing's going to get done. And people have a tendency to say that. And my secondary phone is chirping, and it's supposed to be silenced. Hello, Mercury retrograde. Right? You can't make this stuff up. As we look at the planets and where things have been, and where they're going, there's so many different things to talk about that it's like mind blowing. And the first part is something that I didn't post on Facebook or any social media, because I thought, why fuel that fire? And so this past weekend, which was 4th of July, the planets Mars and Uranus aligned. It's called a conjunction. And those are two extremely volatile planets, triggering a lot of energy, a lot of animosity. And for people that I'm close to, I actually warned and said, look, be very vigilant about where you go on 4th of July and large crowds of people, because people could be overly reactive. And in the sign of Gemini, that is people, that's communication. When we go back, a little bit into last year and now this year for some time to come, Uranus is no longer in Taurus, it's in Gemini. Well, I've coined a phrase about Uranus and Gemini, because that's spontaneous speaking, which I call astrological Tourette's. Things just come out of people's mouths. I hear you laughing back there, Ed. And then it involves acting instead of thinking. So, and over the next chunk of years, 6 years or so ahead of us with Uranus and Gemini, please be mindful of what you're saying, because in Gemini, it means it's going to get said and it's going to get heard. Now, with Mars and Uranus aligning for a few days, the 2nd through the 6th, that could, and it did bring about some unrest. It brought about rowdy crowds in some areas where there were big problems. So that's not the kind of thing that I want to be right about. But unfortunately, that did happen. But that's sort of a trigger for a lot of the bigger picture that I'm going to talk about tonight as we go through this. And I've been looking at these different planetary alignments for some time. Now, I know that Mercury retrograde gets all the airplay and all the nonsense that goes with it. And ironically, we had a late start to the show because of that. Oh, and wait a minute. I'm going to backtrack. And I want to tell you an interesting story about the house blessing. And I just remembered this. And I would be kicking myself if I ended the show tonight not told this story. Because those of you who are really into paranormal, metaphysics, and all that are going to love this story. So on last week, Audrey and I did bless this big house locally, over 6,000 square feet. And when you bless the house the way we do with the big formal ancient pentagram ritual, that is designed to alert the good spirits that you're going to stay, just move off to the side, and any other spirits that don't belong, you're going to go. And of course, it takes hours. The bigger the house, the longer it takes to bless every nook and cranny of a house like that. So when we were almost done, and I was referring to getting all the energy cleared out, and the people that lived in that house did a lot of meditations and spiritual things and very, very formal things, all very benevolent. But what people have to understand is that when they are calling in spirits, those spirits may be theirs and indigenous to them, but those spirits or spirit guides are not designed for everyone. And so as I'm saying this, that these extra spirits had to go, all of a sudden a breeze came up and you could hear doors all over the house slamming as soon as I said that. So is that a coincidence? I don't know. Is it ironic that all of a sudden I said that they had to go and doors were slamming? Nothing amazes me when it comes to doing that work. It's like I'm never jaded by it. I'm always in awe of it, and I respect it because it's very, very powerful. And Audrey and I just looked at each other, and of course we had to laugh about it, making that announcement and doors slamming. So I guess that was goodbye and sort of a spiritual don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, right? You can't hear Ed, but Ed's back there laughing about that. Look, it is what it is, and that tells me we did our job. So, and I know that Audrey is watching this, so good job, Audrey. Thank you for your help. I did another job that was not as big, but big without her, because she is away right now, and it was a lot, and that place needed work too, because the same owners were selling this house and they used it as a retreat, and there was a lot of energy there that had to be cleared out. Now, back to the retrogrades. Thank you for bearing with me on that story, because it was really cool. So on the street that I live, and some of you viewers know where I live, so last week they put signs out that the street was going to be closed several days due to grading and repaving. They didn't ask me about the time of the month to do this. So sure enough, the sign says Monday, Wednesday. Now, the reason I'm telling this also is because Audrey is very sensitive and can't take in the fumes of the asphalt, the petroleum that's in that. So Audrey leaves town, goes to one of her very favorite places to be, and they came out, did Monday, and then I came home from work yesterday, and I see that the signs they have now they're not permanent, they're basically like a whiteboard, and then now it says instead of Wednesday, it's Thursday and Friday. Again, they didn't ask me. So now Audrey has to wait an extra day and a half before she can come home, so they get this done. So I guess we're at a point where in Mercury retrograde, you can't rely on anything but yourself. So you want it done right, do it yourself. Right, Ed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I am here in the studios back at Conejo Valley Talk Radio. That's Ed Hunt, my friend back there, running the board. Making noise, yep. Well, when you do a show solo like this, it's like the old Tom, oh God, what was his name on CBS at like 1 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, Tom Schneider. No, Tom.
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
I know you talked about. Yeah, it was Schneider, wasn't it? Yeah.
Tom Snyder. I think that's what it was. Yep. Yeah. All right. On to the big stuff now. as I've done a show for a while now. I'm up here telling stories.
Overhead?
Okay, yeah, we can be overhead. They don't need to see my mug on there the whole entire time. So what I did a few days ago is that I ran the chart for the United States because there are some pertinent issues in this chart that are going to come up in a couple weeks. All right, but first of all, so while we were sleeping on the 7th, Neptune went retrograde. And this is very tricky because, yes, Mercury retrograde gets blamed for everything. But when Neptune turns retrograde, this means that we are not seeing things clearly at all. You know, Neptune, Ed, you can come back to me for a moment if you want to, as I talk about this so they're not just looking at paper. Thank you. So Neptune rules illusion and disillusion, unreality, where Saturn, which is part of tonight's show, is reality, harsh reality at times, but where Neptune kind of pulls the wool over our eyes. Neptune rules Pisces, which rules the 12th house, which is illusion, disillusion. 12th house is secret, sorrow, self-undoing, karma, institutions, addictions. I call it the dungeon of the zodiac. It's all the stuff that we don't want to look at and aspects of ourself that are hard to look at. And, you know, Neptune, the glyph for Neptune is the trident, Neptune's trident, the god of the sea. And so we can't see the bottom of the ocean when it's a couple thousand feet down. And that's what Neptune does. It creates this illusion. And Neptune will be retrograde until December the 12th. So Neptune retrograde can slow the mind down. It can be emotionally or mentally debilitating, you know, depending on where it is in your chart and how you're reacting to it. So what do you do with Neptune retrograde? Turn inward, not outward, so you can discover a lot about yourself. Your receptiveness, sort of like on an intuitive level, can be a lot higher. Now, in Neptune retrograde, let's say you're a creative sort, and all of a sudden you're getting these ideas, and they're great creative ideas. So what you do is you accumulate all those ideas. You may have to put your dreams on hold for a little bit, especially as we've got Neptune retrograde and Mercury retrograde. It will bring out sort of indecisiveness. People vacillate, or they feel they're sort of in the middle of things and not sure what they want to do. But it is a good time for personal discovery. We may also find by being introspective during Neptune retrograde that there's a different path. Okay? So let's say, and Audrey will like this because she likes the highway and the road analogy. So let's say you're driving on a road and there's a fog, and the fog is bad, and you're concerned about taking that road. So you take another road, and you discover that you've never been on that road before, that you get to your destination. Now, because of the retrograde, you can't go from here to here, but you're going like this, but the roundabout way gets you to your destination, and you sit there going, wow, you know, if it hadn't been for the fog, we never would have known about this road, and we would have been able to get here, which means that you'll take that road more often. So allow your mind to go in a good way, in a positive way, and be very open-minded to try different approaches to situations and problems. Got it? Good. Okay. And we're dealing with that until the holiday season, December the 12th. So as we get into the heart of July, beginning with July 18th, the planet Uranus, which we talked about a little bit ago and how volatile it can be, it's very unpredictable, is going to form a trine. Now, a little bit of astrological footnotes. A trine is a very easy angle. A trine is an angle of 120 degrees where things flow. They're very easy, okay? So we like easy. And in the chart of the United States, Uranus at 4.5 degrees, and this is at that time, not at the moment, of Gemini, is going to form a nice trine to Pluto at 4.5 degrees of Aquarius. All right, so this is the first of 5 times that Uranus and Pluto will trine, going all the way into May of 2028. And that is really important to have it that long because it's Uranus in the area of work and toil, forming the pyramid. There's Uranus right there in the 6th house. And that's also the house of health. Now, first of all, the thing that I want to impress upon everyone having Uranus for the next couple years in the chart of health of the United States, and once we get into 2027, Uranus aligns with Uranus, which means the country gets a Uranus return in its house of health. What does that mean? Discoveries, alternative health methods. For those of you that are into alternative, holistic, homeopathic, this is good for you. And also, guess what? Uranus rules electronics and things like that. Aren't there things in motion for certain advanced healing devices? Not techniques, devices that people are waiting for. And as we get into 2027 and we get the Uranus return in the house of health, watch this stuff come forward. This is groundbreaking. This is cutting edge things that will be out to the public in 27. There's already things, new devices coming out, but this is the kind of thing that people are really waiting for, to have Uranus in there. Now, people would ask, well, that's 4.5 degrees of Gemini. The natal Uranus is almost 9 degrees of Gemini. Why won't it happen this year? Because in September, Uranus is going to go retrograde. So it's going to back off of it, and it will be next spring, April-ish, by the time Uranus aligns with Uranus. Now, here's the other thing about this. The 6th house in astrology is also a house of work, toil, day-to-day drudgery, co-workers, subordinates. But it's also known as the house of subservience, okay? So what does this bring about as Uranus moves through there and it hits Uranus? People rising up, people that are at the bottom, revolting a bit. And that's also next year. But the Uranus in that 6th house is forming the pyramid to Pluto in the 2nd house, which means there are triggers coming this month. In fact, the 18th, 19th, and 20th of July are a series of planetary interactions of the major planets that could create things that have never been seen before or done before. And that's why I'm really on this. When Uranus and Pluto trine each other, where people are more motivated, they're more ambitious, and they're more connected on things. And research is done that allows people to move into new directions, different directions, where Pluto is the planet of slow change and transformation. Uranus is the planet of sudden change. So we have change affecting change. And in the 2nd house, this, of course, is where people the country earns its money. This is its values, including intrinsic values, what's important and what's necessary. So this would be seen as intentional and deliberate. This is a time for forging new allies, and that's in your lives too. New friendships coming along. I would describe that, because of the way Pluto and Uranus cooperate, is finding more people in your life, like-minded people. So if you're finding that friendships have fallen off, new ones will come as you get into the 18th, 19th, 20th of July. As a person with this alignment, you may discover talents in yourself that you never had before and never realized, and they would come about by accident. When Pluto and Uranus align like this, we do feel more tapped into ourselves. It is a great time, depending on where it is in your chart, to go into therapy, because it means you're more prone and open-minded to look deeper at yourself objectively, and that would be willing to look at yourself without making excuses. Now, because this happens all of a sudden, and it is a time of great reform, a plan of action is necessary. This is not a time to fly by the seat of your pants, okay? You have to have conviction, you have to be very deliberate, and you have to know with intention what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and where you're going to take it. For people who are humanitarian, this will give them the ability to help people. This is a time where resources will be available, and those resources will not be spread too thin. There'll be enough to go around. In a time like this, we're going to see important social shifts and do some course corrections. This is a time where, oh my goodness, where people have been very touchy and unsure about what they can say to people. This is going to change things, where people, even with sensitive people, or people who are touchy or edgy, will be able to say what we need to say. This is about no longer accepting the status quo in life and saying, okay, I've had enough, and I'm moving forward. The only thing that you don't want to do with this is be overconfident where the ego takes over, because Pluto is very powerful. But if you're looking for change, and as we get into this third week of July, because there's the 18th, that's around the corner. Today is the 8th, and so we're talking about in the next 10 days, some very powerful things are going to happen. I'll tell you this, when we get to the 3rd and 4th weeks of July, you're not going to look at all this and say, well, none of that happened. Things are going to happen, and very powerful things. Now, what else do we have? And by the way, this also will have to do with getting rid of, but moving away from old belief systems on some level, especially of a religious, spiritual nature, and moving into new things. So it's a whole new different type and kind of reform. And this will bring out more of a humanitarian behavior in people. Thank goodness, right? On July the 20th, Jupiter, which is all about growth, luck, expansion, money, and optimism, there's Jupiter right there, is forming a trine. See, there's that good word again, a trine, which is a pyramid, and that's over here. There's Neptune. And these trines are so tight. At that time on the 20th, Neptune is at 422 of Aries, and Jupiter is at 427 of Leo. So that's really strong. And I ran this chart based on the exact Pluto-Jupiter opposition at 7:45 a.m. on the 20th. So all these are going to be very close. Now, what happens when Jupiter forms a trine with Neptune, things about being idealistic, goals, come to the surface, making connections with people that you don't normally connect with. This is all mind-opening. Jupiter rules the ninth house in astrology, which is spirituality, wisdom, higher learning. And of course, Neptune rules the 12th house, which is the depth of your mind. And so Jupiter and Neptune together just open all the doors of possibilities of any way, shape, or form. I'll tell you something about this, though, where one has to be careful, because this is going to come into play. This is where people will be more experimental with hallucinogenics, where that is, whether it's mushrooms or ayahuasca, because with Neptune and Jupiter, people are looking for some kind of spiritual journey, trip, and it will be done in many cases with, outside sources, not just meditation, the mind itself. Whenever Jupiter and Neptune trine, which is all about expansiveness, practicality has a tendency to go out the window. So we want to be careful with that. This is a time of great generosity where the people that have will be inclined to help others. And the other thing about this, too, is that this is the beginning of people that don't have are beginning to have. And down the road, you're going to see what I'm talking about here. So it's a much more compassionate time. As I said, that faith gets a boost in life. One time I said to a client, and what I'm about to say sounds like the old traditional thing. I said to this client, you don't have faith in yourself. And of course, at first he took it as, not being confident. And I said, no, that's not what I mean. Because this person was struggling with certain aspects of life. And I said, you don't have faith in yourself. And he went, oh, and he got it. Okay? So this is a time where the great outer becomes the inner. All right, next, July the 20th. This is what I referred to a little bit ago, the Jupiter-Pluto opposition. This is intense, and it can bring conflict. This can create a lot of ambition, especially if we set our goals high. This gives us the mindset that we can achieve anything. It may not come as natural as we thought originally, because oppositions are different than trines. With trines, it's flowing. Oppositions, where the planets are 180 degrees away from each other, that creates focus, like looking down, a telescope. But it also creates a certain amount of stress. But it is an alignment. It's a powerful alignment, which means Jupiter and Pluto, as they align with each other, and that can be in trines, sextiles, oppositions, conjunctions, squares. There's going to be some kind of power that takes place, and many times some form of power struggle. All right, so what we have to watch for in the Jupiter-Pluto opposition, especially with Jupiter involved, because Jupiter is, yes, growth, luck, expansion. There's no hard aspects from Jupiter. It's all good. But sometimes with Jupiter, there is overindulgence and overkill. So we have to be careful how far we take things with this alignment, and be careful with exaggeration and embellishment and things like that. Don't let the ego get out of hand. We also will find with this that outside sources, something or someone may challenge our belief systems in a case like this. But this is definitely a powerful aspect to have in a chart. Now, this is what really caught my eye when I started to research all these angles. Again, this is the chart of the United States of America. Jupiter is in the house of investments, where Pluto is in the house of earned money. So this is going to be extremely powerful because this is going to be transformation, transition, and there are certain aspects to life that, especially when it comes to global finance, currencies, things of that nature. I know some people think that the stock market could crash, and I don't see that. What I see is an explosion of change that is going to have a very positive effect. This is going to bring about some kind of financial reform in our country and in the world itself. And I'm really looking forward to the last couple of weeks of July to see how that presents itself. And the eighth house, by the way, that is real estate, stocks, bonds, crypto, money that's not earned. In a personal chart, it also means money from inheritance, lawsuits, insurance settlements, winnings, if you're a gamble. So this is really potent in the country's chart. Something extremely, extremely positive is going to come from this. And that also would rule any holdings that you would have, like raw gold or silver. That's all of it. So watch for a lot of change and upward change when it comes to monies and investments. The other thing about Jupiter opposing Pluto while this happens, because this affects all of us, this isn't just in the chart. All of us on the planet are going to feel the Jupiter-Pluto opposition. And so what will we feel? A certain amount of pressure to succeed at our goals. We'll face challenges like that. We may find that in the work that we do, that people that we work for, in other words, in myself, because I work for my clients, may be more pressure from the clients. They may be more demanding. I can tell you already that is in play. What I'm saying is going to be, I'm already feeling that. People want help. They're looking for help. So that also puts pressure on us to be good at what we do. The thing about this is if you're in a job where doing the job right is more important than the timing of it, then put your focus and attention on getting it done right, and don't put yourself on an imposed clock where the demands could cause you to make mistakes. The thing about the Jupiter-Pluto alignment also is fanaticism. So we don't want to, as a person, as a country, as a business, we don't want to force people into something. And if you're in a situation where people are talking to you in such a way that it's insisting that you do something and you feel that kind of pressure, then don't do it. The other thing that's got to come up in this conversation is Pluto is retrograde. It has been since, I think, around May the 9th, and it's going to be retrograde all the way into the middle of December. So when Pluto's retrograde, the way to attack that is fix things from the past before you move on to the new. And definitely with Pluto retrograde, don't make more work than there needs to be. Don't give in to anger, because Pluto can be extremely volatile. Do what you can, make corrections, and then move forward. Because all you're going to get out of that, if you cave into the pressure, is frustration. With Jupiter, you want to think in big terms. Jupiter's big, okay? And if something is not working out and you're unhappy or dissatisfied, then look at the source of what the dissatisfaction is. Look in yourself and see what adjustments need to be made, especially with Pluto retrograde. All right, now as we keep going, there's a lot. July 21st, Jupiter forms a sextile. What's a sextile? Half a trine. So a trine is a 120-degree angle. A sextile is a 60-degree angle. Not as flowing, but it's still good. So when we look at the chart, again, we come back to Jupiter at almost 4.5 degrees of Leo, and then we find Uranus at that time at 4.5 degrees of Gemini. All right? Again, this is going to have to do with changes and innovations. Again, where this sits is healthcare. This will have a lot to do with investments. This is thinking outside of the box. Now, both Jupiter, which is expansive, and Uranus, which is non-traditional and independence, both planets represent the freedom-seeking qualities in all of us. And so when Jupiter and Uranus cooperate like this, it's going to loosen things up. And the more we think outside the box, with Jupiter opposing Uranus, the better things are going to be. This transit favors any kind of group work, financial endeavors associated with groups, organizations, things that have to do with the internet, because Uranus is wireless, all of that, and any kind of oratory work that benefits mankind. So in other words, we'll see a lot more information coming out where people would go to conferences or things like that. Spiritual influences come out because Uranus has a lot to do with revelations and epiphanies. This is a very mind-opening aspect to have in the chart. And where people say they were afraid to try new things in different aspects of life, that Jupiter sextiling Uranus, people will be more open-minded. All right. And the other thing about this, if you're looking at starting some kind of new work venture or a project, that's the time to do it. If you are, Jupiter, believe it or not, aside from spirituality and growth, rules the 9th house, which is the house of writing and publishing. If you are some form of creative person, especially a writer, you want to take advantage of that energy at that time. And of course, for the next couple of years, Jupiter's in Leo. Well, this is big in big, okay? Jupiter in Leo is all about thinking big. And it's a time, it's because Uranus is humanitarian and Jupiter is big and it's very generous. What we'll see is more acknowledgement and more appreciation of what other people do. So this is going to help things. This is a very feel-good kind of transit, okay? And with that too, you'll see different things come out of different ways to connect with people. It could be different ways of meeting people, social groups, new kinds of dating sites and things like that. It'll be fun to see how that opens up. And with Jupiter sextiling Uranus, we're more prone to change and open to change. Routine becomes very boring. Money happens unexpectedly. So it's a detachment from the past. I'll tell you another thing about this, because Jupiter's in the 8th house of the country's chart, sextiling Uranus. We will definitely see and hear a lot more information about changes in currencies, the global financial systems and things like that. This month is going to be where a lot gets revealed about how the world does business. So it has a big shot in the arm on global economics. And the beautiful thing about Jupiter is it's optimism, and it's not blind optimism. It's just optimism, so people start to feel good about what goes on. And then we get to the 25th of July, about a week later, Neptune. There's Neptune in the 4th house, of the country's chart is forming a sextile, a 60-degree angle, with Pluto in the second house. And this is with Neptune in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this is going to last a long time because this is going to allow us to break things down. And I mean slowly and surely break things down by layer, not rushing into things. These are cultural movements. This is going to bring out more studies in terms of deeper understanding. It'll be more unifying in terms of economics, natural resources, parapsychology, politics. It's very enriching, especially when it comes to how humans are treated. I'm telling you, there is so much that's going to happen as we get through July. Now, because it is Neptune and Pluto, people that pride themselves on being tuned in, psychic energy is going to be intense. So signals are going to be stronger. People's antennas are going to work better. People are going to have to believe that by intention and the mind that they can create. So the last week of July is where you want to be very convicted on your intentions and to really own them. And it doesn't matter when your birthday is, because I know people do a solar return meditation. But this time on the 25th of July and those dates surrounding that, this is going to create a change in how people think. Now, here's the part that is amazing. This starts on July 25th, and we get this alignment many times, and the last one being February 29th, leap year of 2032. So from now till February of 2032, off and on, because Neptune and Pluto are the two slowest moving planets, we're going to see a lot more change come in how people think. And then the last one of July is July 26th, when Saturn turns retrograde, which that can slow down business. But here's what I say about Saturn. And when you see the glyph of Saturn, it's that goofy squiggly looking thing right there. That's the sickle of Kronos, the god of time. And when Saturn goes retrograde, it buys time. What you don't do in Saturn retrograde is panic, all right? You go back to the drawing board and you look and see what was working, what was not working, and make adjustments from there. Now, when Saturn does go direct, which will be in the middle of November, then you want to have your plan set and know what you're going to do, because once Saturn goes direct, it's like a plane that's sitting on the tarmac waiting to take off, waiting for clearance. And all of a sudden, that thing is moving and it goes. So if you're looking at projects or things like that and you're doing fine tuning, don't rush it. Don't make more mistakes along the way. Just take the time to get it done right. But by mid-November, it better be done right, because that's when it's got to be presented. I mean, for instance, if you're in a time right now where you haven't filed your taxes yet, Saturn's turning retrograde. Don't rush now. Don't force yourself or an accountant into making a mistake. Just get it done right and then have it ready by mid-November. So this has been a lot. And the thing that you notice in what I've presented tonight, other than talking about Mercury retrograde, it's all about Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, all major planets. And a lot of those outer planets people don't pay attention to. So having an understanding that the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus are called the personal planets, more about how you relate to yourself. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are called the interpersonal planets, relating more to the environment. And then Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the outer planets, are called the transcendental planets. Those have to do with very deeper aspects of life, things that a lot of people don't relate to or care to relate to, people that are more of consciousness, more into metaphysics and things like that, and spirituality and ritual do pay attention to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And not that everyone has to, but those are the planets because they last longer in aspect because they're slower moving. When they get into an aspect to each other or to your own personal chart, challenging or favorable, that aspect is going to last longer than, say, a few days from, say, a Venus or a Mars aspect. So a lot to look forward to. A lot is going to happen in the last couple weeks of July. So strap in, get ready for it. Yes, and I know that although there's no one asking questions, but one of the things that's going to come up, and people do ask this, is when are they going to reveal? Now, these are these type of clients. I should say this. This is not me asking this question. It's like, when is it known publicly about UFOs and extraterrestrials? And that is a very appropriate question. And some of these planetary alignments could trigger some of those things. Because when you're talking about aspects from Uranus, that is very unpredictable, and it can happen all of a sudden. And Uranus rules the unique and different, okay? So that's the best way I can answer that. And I'm doing this, by the way, all astrologically. I'm not doing this psychically. That would be different. So a lot to look forward to in health reform, ways of treating people, more humanitarianism, big quantum leaps when it comes to global finances and currencies, and how banking is done globally. For people that are young and 20-something, for them, they'll see the effect of this as their lives progress. For those of us that are on the other end of the spectrum, we will see it. But for some people that are up in years and even older than me, they may find this a bit challenging, that the type of currency that they're used to is used differently, and there's other currencies that they may have to use, along the way. So Uranus, Pluto, planets of change, which means that we have to adjust. Look, the planets work for us, not against us. When there's a hard angle in your personal chart, you work through that. It's not anything that's going to kill you. People don't like squares from Saturn and Pluto. But Pluto makes us become what we need to become. It transforms us. And as long as you're moving forward and not trying to, stop it, then you're going to be okay. And everything I presented tonight, we're going to be more than okay. This is all reform coming forward. Expect the unexpected in the last couple weeks of July. Announcements and things like that if you're more following things in a traditional way, then this is going to surprise you. If you're more alternative, then you're going to say, good, I've been waiting for this. When I say alternative, I mean in a lot of ways aspects of your life, that you look at things differently and are open to new and different things. So anyway, that's all I got. For those of you that have been watching, thank you. Sorry for the technical snafu in the beginning, but we still got it all in. I appreciate you, and I will be back next week with another show. And along the way, I will have guests that will be unique and different, not just the same cast of characters, and I look forward to presenting that. If you like more information about tonight's show and what you've seen, send me a note in Facebook. If you would like a personal reading to see where this fits in your chart, email me and Newmont@gmail.com. Call. If you want an appointment with me, the best thing to do is call 818-865-8770. It's the quickest way. It's the thing that I see first and foremost before anything else. So for all of you, more than ever, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'm Nick Newmont. This is Mainstream Metaphysics. I will see you next week, and hopefully I will see some of you at Merlin Golden Arrow this coming Sunday afternoon at the Newmont Center. Thanks, everyone. Take good care. Good night.